She may be an oddity, she may be the kohai of Araragi Koyomi, she may be Oshino's niece, she may be the manifestation of Aragi's lack of self-perspective, he may be a friend of Kanbaru. All that really matters though is that Oshino Ougi is Oshino Ougi. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell, as I can explain to you how much such a small action can do for this channel. Also, if you want to support this channel even further, then consider pledging to my Patreon. Anyway, on with the video. Oshino Ougi is Oshino Ougi. That may be the simplest and most accurate way to describe Ougi, but for the sake of the video, let's go a bit deeper. Ougi is an oddity, however she isn't one born out of a folktale or legend. Instead, she is one born from a single person. Much like Kako was born from Hanikawa, Ougi was born from Araragi. Now Ougi's existence is as a whole very complicated, but I will try to explain it in a way that makes sense and is clear. Araragi from Monogatari onwards has always had a subconscious desire to be punished for his reckless acts of heroism. In Monogatari, he sees his return to vampirism as a form of compensation, or more likely in his mind, a form of punishment for his abuse of his vampiric abilities. As he says in Monogatari, he doesn't see much worth in his life at all, and although that changes as he forms connections throughout the series, his self-deprecating mindset has always been present in Araragi. This is very similar to the concept of the Gungian shadow, which is an idea that all people have a dark subconscious side, their shadow, a side of someone that tells them they aren't good enough and that they are wrong. And this concept literally manifests as Ougi. The Rainy Devil was itself Guy and Toei's Gungian shadow. Much like how Ougi is Araragi's desire to self-criticize and his own lack of self-perspective, the quasi-darkness later named the Rainy Devil was a manifestation of Toei's self-discipline. As Guyan says, both Araragi and Toei were very much alike. The first oddity slayer, Shinobu's first kin, uses energy drain on Kanbaru, who at the time was possessed by the arm of the devil, the monkey paw. The essence of the oddity then, the essence of the Rainy Devil, a quasi-darkness, was taken into Seishiro, who then was eaten by Shinobu. Through this cycle of eating, the essence of the Rainy Devil ended up in Shinobu, and through their shared link, it ended up in Araragi. Ougi was born from this essence as Araragi's personal quasi-darkness. Though Ougi wasn't just a Rainy Devil, she also inherited the essence of all other oddities that Shinobu and Seishiro had absorbed. In other words, she was the culmination of all the oddities Araragi had faced in the story. A perfect culmination of all his past struggles, his past trials, his past mistakes. And so is she not the perfect antagonist for him to face at the end of his story? As no matter what arc we examine, what character, what scene, Araragi in the back of his mind will always have a thought. Not regret, so to say, but a feeling that he doesn't deserve something, or that he has done something wrong that must be punished. And this is why she insults him, criticises him, and puts him through hardship. However, this isn't out of maliciousness. Ougi and the concept of the Jungian shadow is not one of unfair harassment, but a lesson in self-reflection and personal growth. Ougi criticises Araragi about his flaws, and so encourages him to confront and overcome them. She takes away each thing Araragi calls precious one by one to see if he is strong enough to take them back, and prove they truly are precious. Everything she does is for the purpose of helping Araragi. That is her purpose as an oddity, as his shadow. Oshino Ougi then is Araragi Koyomi, a small part of him yes, but still him nonetheless. Araragi desired to be punished for his reckless actions. He wanted to receive some form of divine punishment to set the universe right and make things proper. And well, what else in the Monogatari series does just that? Well, the darkness. Ougi is Araragi's own version of the darkness, a force that acts to punish him for his mistakes, just like how the real darkness punishes oddities for theirs. She is literally Araragi's darkness. Since Ougi's existence is for no other reason than to criticize, ridicule and challenge Araragi, then how does she do so? What is her plan? The most obvious example of how Ougi criticizes Araragi is, well, when she criticizes Araragi. The majority of their dialogue in Sadachi Riddle and Sadachi Lost, after all, are just her insulting his memory and intelligence. And considering Araragi's bad memory is one of his main flaws as a person, this makes sense. However, by doing all this, she makes him remember things. She makes him understand the dark reality of his interaction with Sadachi. However, as it is made very clear throughout the two Sadachi focused arcs, Ougi doesn't know. The one who knows is you, Araragi senpai. She is him, everything she knows he does too. Then she isn't telling him about his past, she is making him remember it for himself. After all, you can't save someone, you can only save yourself all on your own. So even if Ougi is there giving him a push, Araragi is still saving himself as Ougi is still him. Ougi attempts to isolate Araragi by putting distance between him and his friends, taking away the things most precious to him. Be it helping Sengoku to become a murderous snake god, or trying to stop him from being alone with Hanekawa by one-upping her, or forcing Ononoke into a situation where she kills a human to put distance between the two. The reason though that Ougi does all this is to challenge Araragi, as what is his most major character arc across Kizumonogatari and Bakemonogatari is how he forms connections and makes friends. And so in order to challenge this and make Araragi prove that he will not just go back to being sad and alone when his friends go away, Ougi forces his friends away from him. However, as we all know, Araragi isn't weak, and so perseveres regardless of their plans, and so proves that he has learnt his lesson, and that he never wants to go back to his previous way of thinking again, as he is no longer someone who seeks to be alone. Friends are no longer something that lowers his intensity as a human. Ougi also had a fun chat with Skihi in the Ougi Dark arc. And the point of this was that she was trying to get Skihi to face her nature as an oddity. And why does she do this? Well, because she is Araragi's shadow, the manifestation of his subconscious thoughts. And one such thought is, of course, is it okay for Ski to live while pretending to be a human being? Now, of course, Araragi came to the conclusion that it didn't matter at the end of Nishin Monogatari, but even if he still thinks about it one tiny bit, then that thought will be present in Ougi. And although this is just my interpretation, the fact Ougi couldn't achieve the goal of making Skihi face her true nature in the Warrior Monogatari is due to the simple fact that she is once again Araragi. And no matter what, Araragi will never be able to make her identity be as an oddity, as more importantly, her identity will always be as his little sister. Ougi schemes a lot, she talks a lot, she made Araragi face his forgotten past, but also made him sever a connection he considered important to him. Araragi desired to be punished, to feel pain for his selfish actions, for meddling where he wasn't supposed to, for abusing his vampiric powers, and for being so oblivious he didn't even understand anything. And due to Ougi, he certainly was punished, but the roses won't bloom without some rain. So Araragi grows from these experiences, and becomes a stronger person who is no longer lacking in self-perspective, who understands his own flaws and so can face them head on. Ougi interacts with a lot of characters throughout the series. However, there is one person who he interacts with in a way not dissimilar to Araragi, and that is Kaboru. As shown in Hana Monogatari and the off-season, the two become somewhat of a pair. Now, although some may say that Ougi is taking up the role of a Gungian shadow as a quasi-darkness for not Araragi but Kaboru, following Ougi Dark, I don't think this is entirely true. Ougi, is shown in the off-season and monster season, becomes more of a school mystery type oddity, not bound to any one person, instead acting to criticise all who cross their path. So why does he appear as a boy to Kaboru, where in Araragi's eyes, Ougi is a girl? Well, one answer is perspective. Since the series is told via narrators, the way they each perceive the world is how we perceive the world. We have to take what each narrator says at face value, even if different narrators contradict one another. Therefore, in Araragi's eyes, Oshino Ougi is a girl, and so when he is narrating the story, she is a girl. However, in Kaboru's eyes, Oshino Ougi is a boy, and so when she is narrating the story, he is a boy. Ougi's physical gender doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What's more important is that he is Oshino Ougi. Even after Araragi exposes his identity, he remains as someone who will criticise everyone around them, while also pushing them towards self-improvement. Be it by helping Kaboru to better understand her mother, or helping Sengoku to dedicate herself fully towards a goal, he is drawn to people that need a little push, though unlike his other side Araragi, he doesn't run in and help girls in need, instead he stands at the wayside and makes them save themselves all on their own. As Ougi doesn't know anything, the person he is trying to help is the one who knows. And this is why he is always hanging around Kaboru, as unlike the rest of the cast, her oddity issue, the monkey's paw, was never properly resolved during Araragi's final year in high school. Only afterwards did she save herself. When discussing the meaning of the name Oshino Ougi, I think the most obvious thing to point out is the family name Oshino. This of course is in reference to Oshino Shinobu. After all, Shinobu is linked to Araragi, Ougi's other half, and Ougi is made up of the essence of many oddities, Oshino Shinobu included. Her given name, or I guess in this case self-chosen name of Ougi though, is a lot more interesting. Ougi literally means folding fan. Although it's a different kind, she is first introduced to Araragi by Kaboru as her fan. The word Ougi has multiple homonyms, such as Ougi, arguing persistently, which as we know she does a lot, and often usually to Araragi or Hanekawa. And better yet, this word is literally written as unreasonable consultation, which once again is something that she does. Another homonym, Ougi, means being prevalent, and well, considering how often she pops up across the second series and beyond, this is very much a valid statement, and well, even better is that this word is written as unreasonable conduct, which once again she has. And the last homonym I'd like to point to is Ougi, which means esoteric mystery, which, let's all say it together, she is. Unlike with the other two homonyms, this word is written as something else, that being inner righteousness, which is her true nature. After all, her purpose is a righteous one to help Araragi. And because this simple one kanji name just keeps on giving, the kanji for Ougi contains the wing radical, and that the wing radical is identical to the wing kanji, Hane. And well, what character has Hane in their name? Well, of course, Hanekawa. And what does Hanekawa have that links in with Ougi? Well, Hanekawa has another dark side, an oddity that reflects another part of her, this being Black Hanekawa. And well, what is Ougi in the most simple of description? Well, she is a dark Araragi. Ougi rides a BMX. In fact, as shown in Hana Monogatari and Nade Monogatari, she is very skilled in riding a BMX. And who else in the series is a passionate cycling advocate and is a proud BMX owner until it is brutally crushed by a monkey paw? Araragi Koyomi. Honestly, in hindsight, Ougi being Araragi really is a bit too obvious. The final confrontation between Araragi and Ougi is one of the most thematically important scenes in the entire series. Ougi's purpose as an oddity is to be Araragi's own self-criticism and his own lack of any self-perspective. And so when he understands what she is and calls her out for it, he is gaining self-perspective. He has gained enough perspective to see himself in Ougi, and that's the reason why despite being him, she doesn't look like him. As of course Araragi, the narrator of the story, wouldn't recognise himself when he meets Ougi, because he lacks self-perspective. And so when he finally does uncover her identity, he can finally understand her purpose, understand his own flaws, and no longer be protected from his own flaws by his lack of self-perspective. But as he does this, the darkness appears. Araragi desired to be punished for his actions. Ougi did that for him, but now for her own crimes she had to be punished, and so the darkness came to take her away. For lying about her true nature, even though that was in itself her nature is to be a lie, is a paradox in a way. However, Araragi saves her. No, he saves himself as she is him, and you can't save anyone, you can only save yourself all on your own. And so Oshino declares Ougi his niece, and the problem is resolved, as Oshino finally saw that Araragi understood his philosophy fully. But this leaves one question: how is she still alive? Why did the darkness leave her alone? Well, this is something I explained in detail in my The Darkness Explained video, but to sum it up here, Ougi is a living lie. She lied about her identity to Araragi in order to hide from him. To fulfill her role, he had to understand what she was without her telling him. As such, she lived as a lie, not as Araragi Koyomi, but as Oshino Ougi. So in order to keep on surviving, she just needs to continue to lie, and so she assumes a fake name once again, becoming a lie again, and so lives on to become a spooky ghost story of Natsuro High. And here is something else to think about. Araragi learned to finally save himself when he saved Ougi. He finally understood what Oshino was preaching about, how to save yourself. So after the main series, what does Ougi, his other side, do? Well, she criticises others and helps them to grow. She helps them to save themselves, as like her other half, she now understands what it means for one to save themselves all on their own. The overall significance of Ougi's character is grand to say the least. If Monogatari as a series is about Araragi growing up and developing as a person as he proceeds through his final year of high school, then Ougi, someone who is a catalyst for much of that growth, or at the least is responsible for Araragi realising what needs to grow, is of course crucial to the story as a whole. She is never the main focus of the story until Ougi Dark, but she is always there, and why is that? Because as I keep saying, she is Araragi and he is the narrator of our story. He's with us nearly every step of the way. We all have an Ougi, a quasi-darkness, a Gungan shadow inside us. We often ignore it so that we don't get dragged down into despair and depression. But every once in a while, it's good to listen to what your negative thoughts say, as they are still your thoughts, and only by listening to yourself, the person who knows you best, can you grow as a person and become the best you that you want to be. As at the end of the day, you are you, just like how Oshino Ougi is Oshino Ougi. Comment of the week comes from Mega Turtles 10, and I'm glad you enjoyed the Red Spider arc as much as I did. If you are interested in my literary endeavours, why not check out my books Gang Fluid Justice and People of Fate Volume 1, available at Amazon.com. And if you want to help support this channel even further, then consider pledging to my Patreon, where for as little as £2.75 a month, you can get your name at the end of the video like Hikari Desu, 7SO and Smokey McBobby. So with all that said and done, I have been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe, everyone.